This is Nuke. Now, Nuke is a map that has been around for a very long time. It's one of the most played maps in the game and is one of the top choices of both professional and casual players. It's a map that's fairly easy to learn, but very difficult to master. Now, this video is going to be intended mostly for beginners, but hey, you might learn a thing or two if you've been playing the game for a while. Essentially, I'm going to be covering things like callout locations, for instance, this is lobby, different positions that players will play, what to do against pretty standard strats, and things like that. So let's hop right into it. Now, first and foremost, let's go over all the locations on this wonderful little map. So you might be hearing somebody saying, "Oh no, there's a guy in hell, kill him." You might be new to this map saying, "Hey, where the hell is that?" Well, let's find out. So first off, this is CT spawn. This is where you will spawn if you are in fact on the CT team. Down this little staircase here is going to be hell. Some people might call this room right here locker room or window room. But in general, this area here is hell. Why is it called hell? Well, if you come right up this ladder, this is known as heaven. Why is it called heaven? Well, because you're pretty much watching over everyone, I guess. You have a good view, a bird's eye view of both A site and outside. Now come down into this area here. We have the ramp. Ramp, obviously pretty self-explanatory name here. It is quite literally a ramp, and this ramp actually goes right down into B site. In B site, dark corner, a very, very common place that people will camp. They'll be sitting either here or here. They got good vision of the site. They can hear anybody running down ramp here. And then, obviously, they can get anybody, hopefully, off guard coming through this door here. And this door is actually called Secret. As you can see, there's a staircase on either side. This room right here is usually called Control. Some people also call this window room, but usually you'll hear it referred to as Control Room. Another very common camping spot. Sometimes people will sit here. They'll sit here, this area here, or even all the way up here. All these locations give you a fairly decent view of the site. Makes it so you can hear people coming down through secret stairs, through ramp, or through, well, the vents. Continuing on with B site, this nice little door over here, what happens when we open it? It opens into what is known as Toxic Room. It's basically just a little cubby hole where people will sit, trying to hide, wait out for the bomb, wait for people to plant the bomb. And then once they hear that bomb plant, they'll come out, and usually people will plant the bomb either right here or right in here. And obviously that's going to give them a very good view to kill anybody planting the bomb. And next up in this area, of course, continuing down through Secret here, you turn to your right, you're going to see a nice little cubby hole, little corridor here, that basically is a depository, if you will, for people coming out of vents. They can either come out through here and then flank you back down through secret stairs, or even go up these stairs here again to Control Room. They can come back in here, shoot out either one of these vents, and then go right back onto B site, or they do have the option to go back up to A. But we'll get to A site in a brief moment. If you continue on down this corridor, always check this corner, by the way. But anyways, if you continue on down this corridor, you're going to be coming up to these staircases. Now, this is the entrance to Secret. If you hear somebody saying, "Oh, they made it down Secret," this is exactly where they are going to be going. They don't have too many options to go once they make it down this little staircase here. Of course, they can go down there or to the left. So, next time someone says Secret, you know where they are. As we come out of Secret, we have vision of the outside area. Outside is a very common push spot for the terrorist team. As you can see, it has a decent amount of cover, and once this area down here is smoked off, they can cross in pretty safely. A lot of times you'll see smokes popped like right around here, and that's obviously going to block off vision of anybody playing those areas there. Now, if you are pushing as a terrorist, many times you'll encounter a player playing in this area here, which is called Garage. Or sometimes people do in fact call it Big Garage, because it is a big garage. And this little little hole here that I'm shooting is called mini or mini garage. So you see somebody playing here, sometimes with an op. Very strong position because you can see them pushing through right there, right there, right there. Or even sometimes people get ambitious and they push from on top of this little silo here, which is actually usually called marshmallow. Sometimes it's called yellow, or sometimes it's called silo. But a lot of times people will boost up onto here, on top of marshmallow, and either try to shoot you with an op or an AK or any gun for that matter, or they'll jump down on top of mini garage. Yes, you can get on top of this. And then try and do a whole sneaky beaky like and drop down into either A site or continue flanking over towards, what's this? Window room / hell. Can also get picked from heaven. Alright, next, in terms of outside, this right here is called red box. Why is it called red box? Well, I'm sure you've already figured it out, because it's quite literally a giant red box. But you might be saying, hey Jake, there's a red box over there. Generally, if people are going to be calling red box for that, they'll say CT red box. This is pretty much just known as either T red box or just red box. You might be hearing that called, and, well, that's where people are. Continuing right on, we come on top of here. This is basically just roof. Here, somebody calling roof is literally the roof right above this area down here, which is called lobby. And of course, if you are playing as a terrorist, this is going to be your spawn area. You can, from the spawn area, you can either go into here, which is lobby, or again, to outside, or on roof. Now let's say you decide to come in here. Look at this. A nice little cozy area. A nice little waiting room, or a lobby. This is an area that terrorists will sit in a lot while they decide to either go towards B, towards ramp, or into A. Now let's say you decide to push into B. Come into here, this is usually known as radio room. It's called that because, well, it's pretty much like a little radio type area. And then from radio room, you can push into ramp. Alright, now back in lobby. Of course, there is a ladder here that goes all the way up to roof. Another option you can use to get into lobby. You can also come into here, which is known as hut, because it is, well, a hut. That's going to give you a vision of a little bit of outside here, and into mini garage here, and also the vents. You can also view rafters here, check if anybody's there, and once you come out, you can view the rest of the rafters up here and see if anybody is in fact playing in heaven. Now this is obviously a site. We've got two silos here. This is usually the standard plant position, like right around here, or right in here. Then obviously you got your vents there. This door right here is known as squeaky. The reason it's called squeaky because, wait, listen. Beautiful. It's literally a squeaky door. Alright, so that about covers up the call-out section of this video. Next, I will be going over some common camping spots for the CT side. Alright, so you are on CT, and, well, you gotta stop those pesky terrorists from getting that bomb down. Where are you going to play? Well, first off, many players will play either right here, watching outside, watching players crossing into what we just learned is called secret. Sometimes players will play right here. Again, to watch outside, they'll be able to see anybody cross there and get some picks maybe. Sometimes they will play in this garage. So there's quite a few different places that you can play while being outside. Some other places you can play. If you're feeling very ambitious, you can play all the way up here. Sit behind this box trying to get some picks, or even in this little corner here. And try and surprise them as they cross over here. Now continuing right along, let's say you want to play A site, but you also want to support your friends outside. You can also play in mini garage here. That's going to make it so you can have a quick rotate time to help anybody that is playing outside get some picks from anybody pushing secret, or also help anybody out that is playing up in rafters or on A site, because again, you have vision of hut, squeaky, and the site itself. It is a fairly risky position to play though, because you're pretty exposed to squeaky and huts here if you are watching outside. If you don't have anybody watching the site, somebody could easily come in behind you and kill you. Now on A site, some very, very common camping spots for CTs is one behind this vent here. You can obviously see anybody pushing into site. Two, behind this vent here. People like to hide behind these quite a bit. Sometimes people will even break the vents and just camp right inside this vent, listen, wait for that beautiful, beautiful little sound. Another common spot is somebody sitting right behind this box, wait for anybody to push through, and they can easily catch them off guard because they'll be looking, you know, into rafters first on site, and obviously you're gonna get the jump on them. Another fairly common spot is sitting right here watching both mini garage and hut. Sometimes even right here. It's gonna give you a little bit more cover, but at the same time you'll be able to still pick anybody that is going to be pushing through hut. Very occasionally you'll see somebody playing right here, but it's a pretty exposed spot, so not very often will you see somebody playing here unless they're very confident that they're going to be coming from heaven. Sometimes people even play right here. Not very often though. There's some spots on this site that people don't generally play that much. Another very common spot that is actually fairly powerful, can catch pushing terrorists off guard, is right on top of hut here. Main advantage is, let's open that door. Main advantage is, if that squeaky door is open, you can see their, anyways, you can see their legs through the door a little bit. And also, of course, if they push out here, you can kind of shoot them right in the dome, kill them very easily. Then obviously, sometimes a player will be playing heaven. Get a view of the entire site. You can play anywhere up here in the rafters as well. As you can see, you can go all the way across. Doesn't matter where you go. It's a very common spot that you'll see ACT. And then the main advantage of this is they can support anybody playing outside from heaven here. And if they should need to, they can drop down on top of locker room here, and then come back in here towards ramp. Now, common spots that CTs will camp on ramp. Sometimes a player will play here, wait for the push here, get a pick, or fall back to right here. And then obviously they can support anybody playing outside from locker room, or they can go up to heaven to help A. Another very risky spot is right here. Players don't often check this spot too thoroughly, I guess you could say, and then that's obviously going to make it so you can get some picks. But the main disadvantage, of course, is the fact that you don't have anywhere to retreat to. You're stuck in this corner. So it's a very high risk, potentially high reward spot to play. Another very common place that people will play is right here. Obviously, any terrorist pushing through ramp, they're probably going to be looking down here first, and then here, and then here. And then usually they'll push out and look for you here once they know that these areas are clear. So it's obviously going to make it so that you can try and get some picks there. Another common spot is playing right here. Get vision on these terrorists pushing out and have some very nice cover. Sometimes even players will play on top of this railing here. Sometimes even on top of the boxes, although you leave yourself pretty exposed. Another spot right in this little, I guess, corner of the ramp, you could call it. Play here, get some nice vision on the ramp. And then finally, all the way back behind headshot box, which is what this is called. Now onto B site. Again, a CT player could play right here, trying to get a pick from anybody coming down through here, or they can play here, trying to get a pick there. Sometimes on eco rounds, when you have a pistol, a player will play right here. A lot of players don't notice you sitting here. Might even do it on the other side as well. Can very easily get a pick from anybody sort of pushing through ramp there. Again, it's a very high risk, high reward spot though, because you don't have anywhere to go once they do spot you. Sometimes a player will in fact play down here. The same sort of reasoning as that corner right up there. You know, once they push down, they'll be looking all kinds of places, so you can usually get at least one pick on them. And again, we have already seen this. They'll play in this dark corner here. They'll play in Toxic, as we have seen before. In Toxic, usually they'll be either on top of here or on top of here. Or not on top of here, but in this corner. They'll be in one of these two corners, so as you go in, you know, obviously the door is going to be open that way. You're going to want to try and, you know, pre-fire them if you can. Try and guess, I guess. A lot of times a CT will play either in this corner, or even right behind the silo here. Another common spot. Let's say secret doors are closed. You are expecting a secret push. A player will play right here, waiting for them, hoping that they don't look, and then they'll just kind of spray them down. And again, we already know about this little area. We saw that in the callout section of the video. And of course, a player may play right here, waiting for them to drop down vents or waiting for them to cross through secret. Or they'll play in the vents themselves, so they have a quick rotate time between A and B. And vision of the entire site, basically. And again, occasionally, a CT will sit right here in this corner. Because as you can tell, you can't really see anybody playing that corner unless you come all the way around here, and by then they'll have vision on you. Excuse me, and sometimes this CT will kind of sit in these stairs here to try and cut off the terrorist push, stop them in their tracks. And so we continue on with the common theme of counter-terrorists. Now what do we do about these pesky terrorists? Let's say you are the player that is playing outside. Usually you'll have one player playing outside, 2 players playing A, and 2 players playing ramp. Sometimes you might have 2 players playing outside, and 2 players playing A, and 1 player playing ramp. There's all kinds of different variances you can do, but let's say these terrorists, they have some pretty decent strategies in terms of teamwork. And they smoke off right outside. What do? You know, you're blocked off here. You're blocked off in garage. They kind of smoked here too. What am I gonna do? My team is depending on me to stop these terrorists. Well, not a whole lot you can do. You can try and fall back into here or even into mini. And if you have an M4A4, I wouldn't recommend it with a... Let's drop some smokes here. I wouldn't recommend it with an M4A1, but... Again, let's prop these smokes down. Oh. Let's say you have an M4A4 or like a FAMAS or something. You can try and time it, wait for them to cross, and then spray desperately through the smoke. Sometimes you can get a pick. But the best thing to do is either fall back into mini, if you can. Because usually people won't push through smoke. Usually. And then drop down vents and try and cut them off. Either here or sometimes here. This is pretty risky though, because they're likely to be down secret if you do try and get that pick. Another thing you can do, let's come back up this vent here, is you can fall all the way back into hell and then pretty much support them from B. Let's come down here onto ramp and then obviously try and meet them as they push onto site and your teammates are fighting them. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do, let's say of course those smokes are down, you can try and wait it out a little bit, listen. Likely if you're smoked off they won't see you cross over to here. You can kind of sit in this corner here, wait for them. Maybe a player will push through here. You can pick them as they kind of run through there. And then once you are sure all 5 of them are down, if 5 made it, you can come up behind them and try and shoot them in the back as they push down. Alright, now let's say you are playing A site. The terrorists are pretty much committed to A at this point. Let's say they smoked off mini garage here, cutting off anybody playing outside. You're all alone in the site. Maybe you have 1 player or so helping you. What are you going to do? Well, if you're on site and you do have your smokes and flashes still, you can smoke off hut. Gonna prevent anybody playing hut. And then you can hold this angle here. And of course, you gotta use your flashes as well. Or you can try and come into this corner here, wait for them to push through here, and desperately try and get a pick while your teammates come and support you. But this is one reason I don't necessarily like to play on site itself, is because you don't have a whole lot of options that you can do if you are alone, or if they do happen to rush you. There's a very small amount of cover here as they push through there, and a lot of times they'll have either 3 coming through hut and 2 through squeaky, or 3 through squeaky and 2 through hut. So it's very difficult to play the site itself. I mean, you're exposed to outside and there if they do happen to bring one outside. So it's a pretty tough position to be in. So what I generally like to do when I play a site, as you saw, playing on the site itself is not necessarily a very comforting thing to do, so I will generally play in rafters, and what I will do... Oh, not fall down. You gotta be careful of that. You'll take damage. I have God mode on, so don't do that. But, generally, the first thing I will do is I'll smoke off hut, so that if they do push me, well, that's gonna slow them down a little bit. And then, people might think this is strange, but I'll blow off squeaky door. You might be saying, Jake, that's dumb. That exposes you. The reason I do that is because if people do come squeaky, you'll be able to see their legs far sooner than they'll be able to see you. It can kind of spray them down as they come out. In addition to rafters being able to do both that and that, if you're feeling very lucky, very ambitious, you can come over here and try and kill players here. It's not that ambitious, I suppose, but again, you do expose yourself quite a bit. You don't have a whole lot of places you can go. Yeah, this is a very strong position. You can also throw a flash down into there. It'll pop right in their faces, or you can throw a flash right down there. Flash in their faces, in your face if you do it like that. But again, you can just pop it right down there. And then obviously you'll be safe from the flash there. So that's a couple things you can do to hold A site. And of course, again, if you do know that they are A and you are playing outside, you can come in here, wait for them to kind of push through there. Obviously you can kind of throw a pop flash like that. And hopefully, it won't blind your teammate. Of course, you're going to be aware of where your teammate is. He'll be on your radar. You'll be able to see him or her. You can play here, get some pictures through there, and of course, as they push out, you can get them to try and plant the bomb. Now, let's say you are the player that is tasked with playing on ramp. Now, I have covered this kind of thing with a previous video, but generally what I will do is I'll come into ramp. I'll throw it off that little angled wall here, and that is going to block them off pretty much right at the entrance here. They're not going to be able to push that, and if they do, then you'll be able to get a nice pick with your support play here, if there is a support play here, or if you are playing here, you can just shoot them through here pretty easily. The main advantage of smoke is that you can see the enemy before they can see you. Let's see. Let's drop that smoke again.
Throwing smoke.
It lands right about there. I'm gonna shoot the grounds the first moment I can see through the smoke. As you can see, it's pretty thick still. Alright, so right here. So right about there. As you can see, that's a pretty significant disadvantage, so that smoke, of course, if they do push, you're gonna be able to get them pretty easily. Again, generally I have one player supporting me here, and I'll play either behind this box or here. And again, that smoke will go down, your teammate will throw a pop flash there. Then as they push out, you can do something like this. That flash will pop in their faces. Or even if you happen to go down, your teammate can do this. It's gonna pop off there and, of course, pop right in their faces. Now let's say the terrorists do take ramp, and you're falling back. What do you do? Now let's say you still have your smoke because you didn't re-smoke after your friend there smoked off ramp. What you can do is smoke off one exit, or, again, throw that pop flash and drop a smoke right there. They're probably not going to be pushing through that smoke, and if they do, again, as you saw up there, they've got like a probably 10-foot disadvantage there. You can kind of spray them down from here. But again, if you do happen to fall back into B site, this is a very powerful position because you can pick them through either side. Playing in dark corner is a pretty powerful position. You can obviously pick them as they push in the site and try and plant. And of course, as they push out into squeaky, you can get the jump on them. Same with this position over here. That's not squeaky, I mean secret, excuse me. You can kind of pick them through there. Or, you can play toxic and wait for them to plant the bomb, but I personally wouldn't recommend that because you'll only get maybe one pick at the most, but generally players will check that area. Or you can play inside a window room here. / control. I never knew you could shoot that phone off the hook. That's some of the very, very, very basic things that you can do as a CT to ensure your success at holding these sites and defending against the terrorists. There's obviously much more in-depth things that you can do, but this is of course a pretty basic beginner guide. Okay, so those are the basic things that you can do as a CT to defend against terrorists. But what happens when you go on the terrorist side? This is a very CT-sided map because of the very quick rotate times, as you may have seen in sort of like the call-out section of the video. You know, I got the vents to B to A, and then you can go through secret. There's a whole just cluster of ways that the CTs can rotate both sides very quickly, and that makes it a very CT-sided map. So let's say you are a terrorist and you're going to be pushing outside. Oh no, I am exposed. There's an op in there and I am dead now. How do I handle that op? Well, this is a very common thing you can do. Smoke it. Smoke everything. You can throw that smoke. It's gonna land roughly right there. It's gonna kind of block off Mini. You can throw a smoke over this box to block off the opper. And you're gonna be having more than one smoke, obviously. Just keep throwing smokes. Smoke it. Smoke everything. You're gonna want one to land right over there. And of course, that smoke is gonna be like somewhere right about there. As you can see, it's gonna land. Oh, you can't really tell, but it should land roughly in that area. So now, you've smoked everything. You had your teammates help you out. You smoked off there. Smoked off garage. You're good to go. That is pretty much the first step into taking outside. I mean, you really don't want to go out here without any smokes, or at the very least, any flashes. Flashes, not necessarily the best thing, but you can pop them off there as well. That's pretty risky, because you have to turn away pretty quickly. But, at the very least, throw some flashes so that Opper hopefully gets blinded, and then you can pick him. Opper generally plays either there, sometimes there, or there. But again, let's see that one more time. Throw some smokes there. You can even come into this corner here. Throwing over Marshmallow. Throw him over box. And then make your push. It's obviously going to take some practice. I'm just doing them pretty quickly, but you do want to try and practice your nades. Always practice your nades if you can, because, well, it's going to save your life. And then you can push down here. The reason you smoke off this area, of course, is because of that player that sometimes plays there, and they might even have an opper right in there. The main thing is about this strategy is even if there are all these smokes here, if someone is in CT playing Heaven, they can still see over these smokes, especially if they are all the way played up here. They can easily see you crossing through there. So it's not a perfect strategy, but it is a very, very good strategy at getting past that pesky opper who's playing in there. So you make it down secret. Again, check this corner. You come down through here, check there. A lot of times the player will be playing here. You want to check there. And then a lot of times the player will be playing here. You gotta check there. And then check in the little secret cubby here. You can see their legs sometimes if they're playing there. So you're going to want to make sure there's no head sticking up there, no little toesies sticking through here. And then once you're sure that that is clear, check this corner. A lot of times... Why is that blue? Anyways, sorry. A lot of times a player will be playing here. And then you can also go into vents. Check if there's anybody in there. Now once you have cleared those areas... Again, you're a terrorist. Let's say that this is going to be closed, obviously. Again, check here. Main thing I see a lot of terrorists fail to do is check their angles, check their corners. They get shot from behind quite often. I'm guilty of doing the same thing. I don't check my corners all the time, like I should. Then obviously you're going to be checking control room, but you can check control room from site as well. Then obviously you're going to be checking dark corner, site. You've already cleared vents, and then finally toxic. And there. And by this time, you usually look at the call-off, you're going to be greeted by somebody coming ramp. What you can do, let's say you push into radio room here. You can either come up the stairs here and bounce it right off that wall there. It's going to be a pop flash. And then try and pick anybody coming out from ramp here. Or, of course, you can kind of... Sometimes people throw a smoke down there to block anybody playing there. They'll do this little maneuver. And they'll do a pop flash. Obviously, that's going to block off of them. And then they'll check ramp. But, again, I can't stress this enough. As a terrorist, especially, what I see a lot of people fail to do is check their corners. Look, they'll be rushing, and they'll run right down here. And then, oh, hey there, buddy. Killed you. You killed all your friends that pushed by because no one checked the corner. You can't always rely on the first player down to check the corners, because I've done it myself, and I've had it done to me plenty of times. All 5 players make it by, and then a player just sprays them all down, gets the ace. Alright, so that is how you can do a very basic method for taking B from outside. And of course, again, this is a very, very basic guide for fairly new players. Nuke, a very hard map to play for some newer players. So let's say you want to do outside to A. Now you got your little garage, smoke it down. What do you have to be careful of? Sometimes a player will push there, so obviously you're going to be checking there. But now you have to be careful of anybody playing heaven, hell, and in garage here. And if that player gets smoked off in garage, he will usually rotate around into this little corner here or back here to try and pick you guys. And then you can come into here. Again, check, check, and check. The bad thing about coming mini garage to A is that the people playing rafters can see your legs before you can see them. As you can see, can't quite see them yet, but your legs are going to be exposed. So let's just put some smoke grenades here. See if I can't see those from heaven here. Oh, I did a bad thing. Yeah, you can kind of see the smoke grenades right down here from here. So obviously, it's a very risky maneuver, but definitely check, 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 and keep an eye on heaven here. And then the last place that you're going to check before you fully push into the site is obviously the vents. So those are some of the very basic things you can do from outside. Alright, so now let's say you want to go A as a terrorist. Obviously a very hard site to take, a lot of bottlenecks. This is a very small little door all 5 players have to go through, and that one included. Sometimes what I like to do is throw a grenade right down here, and if it hasn't already been done off, or blown off rather, it'll be blown off the squeaky door. That's going to allow you to see anybody playing outside and in mini, and then you can kind of get vision of a little bit of heaven. But again, that player, if they're playing right up here, they can see your legs before you can see them. So I can see them right here, and that's how far forward I am. They can see me pretty much all the way back here. But you can blow off squeaky, and then you can either smoke off mini from here, or you can come right up here and smoke off mini from there. And then you can kind of throw a flash through there. It's going to blow up right in the faces of anybody playing here. And then you can kind of try and angle yourself here as throw a pop flash down there. And it's very difficult to take A as a terrorist, but let's say you smoke off there, come in, check behind you, check sight, crouch, check heaven. A lot of times the player will play there. Check heaven, check sight, check vent, check box, check mini, and then finally, if you haven't already, which you hopefully already have, check vent. And obviously be careful of the player playing up here. So let's say you have a 3 coming out here. A lot of times we'll have 2 players coming out this way, and then have 1 player coming through the window here, which you can jump through. And then 1 player coming through squeaky here, checking up in these rafters and in mini there. So now you get the bomb down. If you still have some smokes, re-smoke mini.
Smoke.
And then re-smoke, or just smoke in general, heaven. Not like that, but you know, you get the drift. Smoke it. Smoke it day.
Flashbang.
Throw some flashes. I mean, you just gotta, once you get into sight, you basically just gotta make use of your smokes and flashes to the best of your abilities. I mean, make sure that's smoked off. If you hear somebody coming up there, throw some flashes. Throw some flashes if you hear somebody in mini. Learn your pop flashes. I mean, if you're sitting here defending the bomb, what you can do is throw a flash off there, turn away a little bit, and as you can see, it's gonna pop like right there. Where else? Throw it off of there. Hear them pushing out. It's gonna explode right there in their faces. I mean, defending the bomb site as a terrorist is something where you have to basically just sit tight, let them push you. You have no reason to peek here. I mean, you just gotta rely on your teammates to cover your other angles, and then if you have flashes and smokes, just boop, boop, just keep doing that. So that's a very, very basic way that you can take a site to kind of help you, well, take it.
Throwing smoke.
I mean, again, it's a very difficult site to take. Even the professionals tend to get cut down quite a bit. That's why a lot of times you see people just straight out rush in, just spray down. I mean, it's a fairly effective method. It'll catch them off guard. But let's say you want to play B. You want to go B. You want to go ramp. Again, very, very tough for terrorists. Inside is a very tough place to take, and I'll show you why. So as a terrorist, you're obviously going to be pushing through a ramp, and if you're playing against me and many other players, you're going to be smoked off here. And then a lot of times, they'll have a player with an op playing here. That's a problem. Sometimes they'll even be playing on top of headshot box here. Again, a problem. Or if they're playing down here, this is a very kind of powerful spot right here, and I'll show you why. See that little tiny line right there? That's lobby. You can see a player through there and pick them. You can see many players pushing before they can really see you, and only your head is pretty much exposed right here, so it's a fairly strong position. It's a very tough thing to deal with. So the smoke has finally faded, and you got a player down here. Gotta try and pick him. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing you can do. What you can do, really, is if you don't get picked, throw a pop flash off there, and then maybe try and get a smoke down there and block them off. But again, put a smoke there, pop it, check there, 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 and then finally there. It's very tough as a terrorist. You really gotta have someone on your team who is fairly decent as an entry fragger, especially on this map. I mean, it's just such a choke point here. I mean, I apologize if my advice here is just kind of like, be good, but it's just very tough. All I can recommend is just keep an eye out on here. Use your smokes and flashes. Kind of throw that down. Throw it. Again, check, 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 check. And then you can kind of push out here. And if that smoke is down there, check there, and check there. And once you do push out and you cleared all these angles, a lot of times a player will actually come over here and check for the player rotating from heaven and pick them. And if it's just a straight up rush, a lot of times people will just jump down. Again, check your corners, check your corners, check your vents, check every single corner. You're gonna wanna make sure those are clear. And then, obviously, make sure this corner is here, because if you're me, you hide there like a scumbag. Check, check. I mean, again, I apologize if my advice for playing a terrorist on this side is kind of like, hey, just check your corners, but that's about all you have to do. There's not really tons of strategies, but once you do plant the bomb, what you can do, use the CT hiding spots I showed you earlier. You can smoke off secret if you still have smokes. Not like that, don't throw it like that, don't be a dingus. And then you can just kind of sit in sight. Very powerful spot here if you know they're going to be rotating from ramp. And you can sit in toxic. Because the thing is, a lot of newer players, when they're playing terrorists, they'll plant the bomb and then they'll go on a hunt. They'll go hunting. And then, obviously, they come out here. Oh no, I found a guy, I'm dead. It's something that you just gotta be patient. You just gotta be patient. You just gotta sit on the site and kind of use your smokes. Hell, use your flashes. Like, really, it's about it. It's a team game. You gotta make sure your teammates are supporting your other angles. I mean, let's say you say, hey, I'm watching ramp. You're gonna have a player sitting in maybe toxic. Okay, I'm watching your secret. I'm watching your radio. Say you have a player sitting down here. Hey, I'm watching your vents. I'm watching your radio. Your secret, rather. I mean, that's about all there is to it. There's not really any super complex strats that you can do, but if you do happen to take ramp, another thing you can do is come all the way to hell and either go outside or go up to heaven. and pretty much rush it. Fall down onto this pallet box and you won't take damage, and then plant it. And then, of course, use your smokes.
Laying down smoke.
Use your flashes.
Flashbang.
And there you go. But that's about all the advice I have for this map. I mean, it's obviously a very, very much so beginner guide. It's nothing, I'm not going to be getting into too much depth here, but that's pretty much a beginner's guide to Nuke. So I hope this video helped some of you guys who may be new to the game, and as always, thank you for watching, and see you next time.